Hey again, this is Mike from Mike's Crazy Kitchen, and today we're going to make Instant Pot chili. Now, there are tons of recipes out there for making chili. Some of them are super easy, some of them are a little bit more involved, but really that's only a matter of adding in additional ingredients or spices. All of them really are very, very simple. They involve typically sauteing the meat and or onion if you put in, and then adding whatever other ingredients you want and cooking it. So it's super simple, super easy, and it makes a great meal for, you know, just eating, or for meal prepping, which is what I'm doing. I'm getting ready for making my lunches for the week. And that was Sasha, who smells the ground beef and wants some. You already had yours, go away. So anyway, the recipe that I'm going to be making today is from osweetbasil.com. So I'm going to show you the ingredients here, and then we're going to get to work. Okay, so again, this is just a kind of a shot of the ingredients that are involved. There are 3 different kinds of beans for this recipe, plus some canned tomatoes and tomato paste and various spices, and again, all of this, it looks like a lot, but it's really not, because the spices are just kind of, pull out a teaspoon or tablespoon of each one, whichever is necessary, and toss it together. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is, whenever we're going to be sauteing, or at least for me, my preference, make sure your pot is set on saute, and I typically change mine to high. Oop, just went off here. Hello, come back. Okay, so I typically change mine to high, because if I'm browning meat or sauteing onions, I just prefer using the higher heat because it cooks a bit faster. So for the ultra, you just click the selector knob and rotate between low, medium, high. Click high, push it, and click start. And if you're using a Duo or a Luxe, you just use the equivalent buttons that are for them. And again, your choice, whether you do it medium or high. Again, I use high, so that's just what we're rolling with here. Hey, we're back. In the meantime, while you've been gone, taking a nap, I've been waiting for the pot to heat up. It now says it's hot. Now, we took all the individual ingredients, all the spices and everything, and reduced them to onions, the dry spices, the wet stuff, which in this case is Worcestershire and minced garlic, and I've opened and drained the 3 cans of beans. I have the tomato sauce, or not tomato sauce, we have the fire roasted diced tomatoes, yum. Tomato paste. We have 2 cups, if I can lift this without spilling, of beef broth, and 2 pounds of ground beef. Now the recipe, actually calls for 1.5 pounds, but I normally store it in pound increments, so I just round up. Now this recipe actually also calls for bacon. I love bacon, but I don't use it that often, so I prefer just to use some olive oil, because otherwise this would all cook in the bacon fat, which would be awesome, but we're not doing that today, unfortunately. So here we go. Again, pot is hot. I'm going to add a little bit of oil, and I never measure oil. I just kind of guesstimate. Now the pot is a little bit hot now. I just kind of swirl it around on the bottom. Now you will notice that the lid is right here. That's what these little slots in the side are for holding the lid. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I'm going to set it aside for now. Okay, now the pot is really hot, so it's already smoking. So now we take our onions and we dump them in. So we saute these a little bit to draw out some flavor. You grab one of my 10,000 wooden, bamboo actually spoons. Okay, so you need to cook these a bit until they're tender. So this is kind of where we are here, and I think these are about ready to go. Okay, now we're going to add the ground beef in, and we're going to saute that until it's brown. I'm going to dump that in my apologize for the shifting camera angles. This is the home of low production values. And also, meat, of course, is always going to look better whenever it's fresh. This I have frozen and defrosted it in the microwave. And I think the beef is about brown here. And what we're going to do is we're going to drain off some of the excess liquid. I'm going to try to show you how to do that. Basically, you just take the pot. I'm using the Instant Pot little ladle thing, and you just kind of take the pot. And remember, this part is insulated, so it doesn't get hot. And just take that. We're just going to dump some of this out. Because remember, to cook under pressure, the Instant Pot needs liquid. It must have liquid. Otherwise, you're just going to burn whatever's in it. So, but we're going to take this out, and then we're going to substitute the beef broth and the other juices in, for example, the fire roasted tomatoes. So we're just going to take this out, which is some liquid from the onions and some of the juice and fat from the meat. All right, so I think I've gotten out all I get here. Is that there? Okay, so I'll bring you over here and show you what's in here. Look, it's like magic. Oh. Okay, so we have ground beef, and okay, so now the recipe basically calls for us to add everything else in. Stir this up just a little bit. And I keep looking over here because I have my recipe app, Paprika. I'll be doing a review of that later. Love it. Love Paprika. And so everything's on my iPad. So, all right, so we drained it off. Now we add everything back in. And I'm just going to leave the pot on. Okay, tomatoes in, because leaving the pot on keeps everything heating up, because of course that'll save a little bit of time whenever we put it under pressure. Okay, so put the tomatoes in, that was the beef broth. I'm going to put the, there's the pinto beans. Butterfingers, kidney beans. Now, one other point that I'd like to make, oh, wait, where's my spoon? Hang on, we have a spoon emergency. Must have a spoon. One other point I'd like to make is this recipe, and most recipes that you find for the Instant Pot are designed for the 6-quart size. So, of course, you can cook anything that size in the 8-quart. But the 3-quart, if you have a 3-quart model, or one of the discontinued 5-quart models, you really have to obviously, change the size of the recipe, which again in an app like Paprika is really super easy to do. But this also gets pretty full, and that's something else to keep in mind. Don't ever overfill your Instant Pot. There's a max fill line for ingredients that do not expand. Okay, and like this, everything is already kind of pre-cooked, so nothing's really going to expand much. But if you're cooking beans, if you're cooking rice, if you're cooking pasta, make sure that you're probably no more than about half or so full. Otherwise things will come shooting out the vent whenever you try to release this and release the pressure. Okay, so here's our garlic and Worcestershire sauce. Dump that in, and all of our yummy dry spices. Now we're going to give this all a good stir, mix it up. And again, I'm moving the pot. This is hot. The inner liner is now hot, but it's not that hot, so I'm not trying to do it. Superman or anything, but that's why I like the little mini mitts that you can get for this, because that makes that really easy. Because I do turn the inner liner whenever I'm cooking a lot, because it makes it a lot easier to stir things up. Okay, scraping down the sides. All right, so here's that. I'm gonna bring you back over here so you can see what it looks like. Whoop. Okay, so this we are now going to cook under pressure, and the recipe calls for only 18 to 20 minutes. I'm going to cook it for the full time on the bean setting. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit cancel on here, and then we're going to go to bean chili, which is 30 minutes on high pressure. That's a preset. Now, of course, you can change this. You can change the settings here or just under the pressure cook option. But I prefer my beans done a bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to seal it, lid on, make sure you turn it. Okay, make sure it locks. And then bean chili, I'm going to cook it for 30 minutes because I like my beans a bit softer. And we're going to hit start. Okay, we are back again real briefly. The chili is, let's see, it's still heating up, but you can see that steam is now coming out of this little valve right here, the little silver one. So what's going to happen when the pressure comes up to where it needs to be, that little silver thingy is going to kind of rattle around, and then it's going to pop up and lock in the steam. So we're going to stay here for a couple minutes until it happens. It should be happening any time now. And boy, does it smell good. And, you know, I don't know if you like chili or not. I like chili a lot. And I tried a bunch of different chili. Oh, there it went. There it went. You see how it popped up like that? Okay, now that's locked in the steam. So now the Instant Pot is now going to start pressurizing. Okay, so we're going to start pressurizing for pressure cooking. And then whenever it's done cooking and it's ready to be released, then I'm going to push down on this button here, and that will release the steam through this valve. And the Duo and the Luxe have a different version of doing that, but that's how the steam will be released. So again, we'll be back when it's ready. Okay folks, we're back. Now, just to give you an update, it's been half an hour and about 5 minutes, plus the time it took to come up to pressure, which is maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So in that time, I cleaned up the kitchen, I took out the trash, I put license plates on our car, and I think a couple of other odds and ends. So anyway, that's one of the things I like about the Instant Pot too, is that once you get everything in there, your time is yours. Check out risotto. The last time I made risotto the traditional way, I think it took me like 2 hours of stirring over the stove. You can make it in the Instant Pot, just put it in there, and it comes out and it's done. So, but now as for the fun part, the Instant Pot chimed saying that the chili cooking time is done, and I let it sit in there a few minutes just to let the pressure ease down a little bit. Now we're going to do the quick release part. You ready? Here we go. Ooh. So I'm gonna let that run. It's probably going to be a minute or two before that comes down. Then I'll be back and take a look at what's inside. Okay, the steam is just about done now. And whenever the pressure is totally released, remember this little silver doodad is going to go back in the pot. And one thing I wanted to mention is, you know, it is steam, right? So you don't want to get your hand or your face in front of it. But, you know, up here, it's fine. Down closer, it is very hot. So just respect it, but don't be afraid of it, because the Duo and the Luxe versions have a steam release handle that's right here. So you just stick your hand in there and click it, or use a little wooden spoon. And they also have kind of these fun little steam diverters that you can see on my website at mikescrazykitchen.com. If you just search for Instant Pot accessories, and you'll see some other fun gadgets. So, and another thing is safety. This is not your grandmother's pressure cooker, so visions of exploded kitchens and things like that. Each of these models has between, I think it's like 9 and 13 safety features. This is probably the safest appliance in your kitchen. So there's absolutely no reason to fear it. And again, the steam, just treat it with respect, and you'll be fine. And again, the metal parts of the top are marked, don't touch because they're hot. So keep your hands away from there. The sides get warm, but this insulated casing keeps you safe from the environment. Okay. There, the little silver doodad just went down, so we're going to turn it. I'm going to open it up. Now, I always just rinse the lid out of the sink like this with a squishing motion. Shake it off, and let it air out. I set it, once the pot's cool, of course, I set it inside facing up on the pot, and I never have a problem with any smell issues with the ring, which is a thing. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, we now have a nice big fat pot of the yummy looking chili. I'll bring you over here. Oh, you're so light, I can just pick you up. And there you go. So, again, there are lots of different varieties, and this will, of course, as it cools down, this will thicken up. So, chili is one of those things that it's almost better to cook one day and then set aside in refrigerator, freeze, because the flavor thickens up and it becomes even tastier for the next day. I'm going to put you down again. Oh. So, but that's really it. And this meal, so again, it was 2 pounds of ground beef, 3 cans of beans, a can of fire roasted tomatoes, a can of tomato paste, some spices, some garlic, and an onion. So, how much can that be? And this will probably get roughly, I'm going to say probably 8 to 10 servings out of this. So, very economical to make and very yummy. So it's time for me to eat lunch. And again, come visit my website at mikescrazykitchen.com, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.